So one of my, I guess, a coping mechanism that I have found that really helps or helps somewhat whenever I'm having panic attacks is to... Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We are back with video 3 in the series of opening up about my anxiety, depression, and OCD. If you missed the previous videos, they will be linked down below. Also, I believe I'm going to put all of these in a playlist as well for just convenience for you guys. If you are new to my channel, hi, my name is Hannah. I post videos every Monday and Friday. Usually they are beauty videos, but recently, as I mentioned, I have been doing this series opening up about anxiety, depression, and OCD, which are things that I've personally struggled with, and I just really wanted to open up with you guys about them, possibly help you to cope with them, as well as if there's someone who doesn't really understand those, maybe try to explain it in a way that you guys can understand them as well. So if you're excited for this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. Also, feel free to stick around and subscribe. As I mentioned, I upload videos every Monday and Friday. Once again, just to kind of give you guys a disclaimer, I am not a medical professional. If you are struggling with any of these issues, I strongly urge you to open up and talk with it about these issues with your doctor as well as someone in your personal life. As I've mentioned several times before, I think that a combination of both of these are helpful because obviously it's important for your doctor to know about that. Also, someone in your personal life, because they can really kind of help you with these issues, and also you can talk through them with somebody so that way you don't have to go through this alone. I'm sitting a little further back because I kind of wanted to show you guys my t-shirt. I just got this yesterday from Target. I was on clearance for like $4.48. It's really fun. It has like a little bird, as you can see. It's like a really pretty sunset scene. I really like this. It's cropped, but I got it oversized, so it's not like super cropped on me. But I think this is really fun and pretty, and also since I live in Florida, I can wear it year round. So I think we're ready to get into the video. As I mentioned, if you did not see the previous 2 videos, I really recommend watching those first, or at least definitely seeing my first one, because that's where I kind of explain the onset of these issues of mine. And now, so in the first one, I talked about my onset and kind of, that was in my high school years, my junior and senior year in particular. Then in my last video, I talk about my issues during college. Now I'm going to be talking about my issues after college, basically like after college to present day. Also, once again, I have my notes over here, so if I'm looking over here, reading over here, that's what that is about. Getting right into it, after I graduated with a biology degree, I got a job at a retail store. I started as a cashier, then worked my way up to be a department manager. It was a good job and paid well, but I did fall into a hopeless state of not knowing what I wanted to do with my life during that job and after I quit as well. I did a whole dedicated video about quitting my job that I will link for you guys if you missed it. It will be linked up above as well as in the description box down below. Once I started my channel and kind of got my vision on something that gives me purpose, it really helped me get out of that rut. That's not a cure-all, and that is one thing, but that is one thing that helps me in particular. I will say it is definitely not fun to be 22 years old and everyone asking you what your plans are for the future. I know this is an innocent question and they mean well, but it is hard to figure that out through prayer as well as talking with my dad and stuff. I mentioned this in my quitting my job video, but it's just such a cool experience that obviously I prayed about it, but I had been thinking about starting a channel for probably at least a year. And I remember whenever I talked to my dad about it, like I thought for sure, you know, he'd be closed off and like not wanting me, I don't know, for whatever reason. But he was actually like really supportive. Both of my parents are really supportive, and that's really helped me out, because you really do need a support system. So another thing that I wanted to mention when talking about depression is this idea of simply praying and reading your Bible as the only coping mechanisms. I feel like this can be a controversial topic, and I'm very non-confrontational, so this makes me a little nervous, but once again, I just feel like it needs to be said. That's something that I wanted to address. So I am a Christian, and I think that reading the Bible, sorry I'm doing this, I'm trying to correct my posture as well. It's like I've had bad posture for years. Sit up straight, kids. Whenever you're a child and maybe you don't have these same problems that I do. Okay, sorry, getting off topic. I am a Christian, and I think that reading the Bible and praying are both really important, but sometimes that isn't enough. There is a chemical imbalance and other steps need to be taken. So with depression is where I'm going to be specifically addressing this, but also I think with other mental disorders such as anxiety and OCD, things that I have personally struggled with, I think that there is a chemical imbalance, and that obviously it's a real disease and disorder. And I think that these things are more accepted now in society, thankfully, but I still think that there's a lot of people who may not think that they're real issues, and I believe that they are, obviously, since I've personally experienced them. Like, this isn't all made up. It's something that I've really experienced. As I was saying, there's other steps that need to be taken, such as, for example, seeking counseling. It's definitely important to do your research and seek the right counsel, but I just wanted to address that if a Christian is depressed, it doesn't mean that he or she is just distant from the Lord. That might be a reason, but it's not the only reason. Recently, I think, as I was saying, that depression, anxiety, and other mental health issues are more readily discussed, and perhaps that has opened up the possibilities of seeking other measures of help, which is good. I don't know why I'm out of breath, probably because this gives me anxiety, but it needs to be talked about. Okay, so this also goes back to what I had mentioned before, that it can be really hard to see anxiety, depression, OCD, or any other mental health disorder as a real thing unless someone has dealt with it personally. I'm not saying it's impossible to understand, but it can be really hard to understand. That brings me to another issue that I want to address. I think that there's a balance between forcing yourself to go out when you really don't feel like it and not going out because you genuinely cannot handle it. I have a story to kind of go along with this and hopefully explain it more to you guys. So there is a specific party that I did not end up going to earlier because I couldn't. The environment wasn't good, and that there was going to be people there that was really not good for me to be around. The thought of going put me in a panic attack, so much so that I physically did not feel well. I talked about it with a couple of my friends, and they mentioned for me not to go, which for whatever reason, I was really trying to force myself to go. Like, my anxiety does not rule me, like I can do this. But I was getting myself so worked up and upset, and it was just like causing me distress that there wasn't really a point of doing that to myself. So as I was saying, I talked about it with a couple of my friends, and they mentioned not going, and I decided not to because it was best for my health to not go to the party. I hate bailing because one of my pet peeves is when people are flaky, but in this particular instance, it was best for me not to go. I think that there should be a balance. Don't let your anxiety rule you and you never go out. Sometimes it's good for you to force yourself to go out. For example, sometimes I'm feeling really anxious and I don't want to be around people in general, whether I'm feeling anxious or I'm feeling down, maybe not specifically quite in the depression state, but I just am feeling kind of down. But I force myself to socialize whenever I'm feeling like that sometimes. For example, after church, I go out with friends from church, and that helps me to get out of my rut. I'm not saying every time I go out with friends after church I'm having anxiety, but sometimes in the past I have forced myself to go out whenever I'm specifically feeling like that. It's not a cure-all, and I might still be a little anxious, but I'm proud of myself for forcing myself to go out because it's a sign that my anxiety does not rule me. I hope this makes sense. As I said previously, I think it's a balance between not doing things because it's better for your anxiety and better for you in general, and doing things to prove to yourself that your anxiety does not rule you. That's why I wanted to kind of give personal examples to hopefully help you understand where I'm coming from. Previously for the party, I didn't go because I believe that it was better for my health in general. There wasn't a point in forcing myself to go through that because it like genuinely caused me distress, gave me a panic attack. I physically did not feel well, and once I didn't go, it was just so much better for me. But you can't always rely on yourself, like whenever I'm feeling down or something, to just stay to yourself and not be around people, because I think it's really helpful to sometimes be around people, kind of get your mind off of things. So there is a balance. I feel like you might be thinking I'm just going back on what I previously said, but as I'm trying to communicate, I think that there's a balance. After I got my clear vision on what I'm supposed to work on and what gives me purpose, like with my channel and also starting a business and that kind of thing, that really helps with my anxiety. However, I recently found out that my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and that was kind of a step back from my anxiety, and I'm still struggling with it somewhat after finding out about that almost 2 months ago. I feel like at this specific instance, at this point in time when I'm filming this video, I'm generally okay. My mom is going through treatment and we try to keep our spirits up, but it is still a trial that we are going through. I will link that video for you as well. I know I'm linking a lot of videos but I don't want to like be repeating myself for those people who have already seen those videos, and I go into more depth explaining that specific issue. And I really also recommend you watch my video on finding out if my mom has cancer if you have not seen that. I did mention in my video about finding out, whenever I found out that my mom has cancer, that I had a few panic attacks from the initial shock and also processing that information. Personally, whenever I've had a panic attack, I have an overwhelming feeling. My brain is racing and I can't calm down. If it's a really bad panic attack, I might also have a shortness of breath. I just wanted to kind of explain panic attacks for people who haven't experienced them in the past. I think whenever I was processing, I don't remember having the shortness of breath, but I have had that as a symptom of a panic attack before as well. So one of my, a coping mechanism that I have found that really helps somewhat whenever I'm having panic attacks is to tell someone that I'm having a panic attack. One, also breathing deeply helps, and sitting still. So sitting still, breathing deeply, and having someone tell me that everything's gonna be okay. Obviously, with my mom with cancer, I even go into that in particular. Like there was an instance the day after we found out that I had to take her to get an MRI, and I had a really bad panic attack, and there was basically, my parents are like the two people who can really calm me down whenever I'm having a panic attack. And my mom was having the MRI. My dad was flying back because he was out of the country. So that was a really bad morning for me. But in general, I think that whenever I can tell someone and talk to someone about it, also my best friend has helped me through panic attacks as well. Whenever I can talk to someone about it, I really just need someone to at least listen to me or tell me that everything's gonna be okay, because panic attacks are really hard to go through as well. Also this time, I feel like my OCD is basically not an issue. I'm not asking for it to struggle with that again. And I might have an issue with it in the future, but I'm extremely thankful that I'm not struggling with it really much at the moment. I will once again link the book that really helps me cope with my OCD and overcome some of those compulsions. I have it once again right here. It will be linked in the description box. I really recommend this if you or someone that you know has been struggling or is struggling with OCD, because once again, it can be an extremely debilitating disorder and hard to overcome those specific compulsions by yourself. So those are kind of the issues that I wanted to address in this specific video. As I mentioned, this is the third video in the series of opening up about anxiety, depression, and OCD. I do want to make videos in the future addressing these issues. I'm not sure if this will be the last video, if this video will be the last video in the specific series. If it isn't, rather, I'll have another video with the series next Monday. I feel like I'm not making sense. I'm not sure if this is going to be the last video in this particular series, but if there is going to be another video, it will be next Monday. That's what I'm trying to say. But regardless, as I said, I do want to do videos addressing these issues in the future. So if I don't have a video next Monday, I will have videos in the future addressing these specific issues, because I think it's something really important to talk about, and I really like being able to discuss these things with you guys. With that being said, if you have suggestions on other issues on this topic that you want me to discuss, leave them, let me know in the comments down below. I would love to check that out, see you guys, your recommendations. Once again, and thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it and found it helpful, give it a thumbs up. Also feel free to share it with someone else you know who is maybe struggling with these issues. As I mentioned, I upload videos every Monday and Friday. Feel free to stick around and subscribe. Once again, thanks for watching, and I will see you in my next video.